My name is JJ Dubec, otherwise known on Instagram as @DocZilla12. DocZilla because I'm a physician. Zilla because one of my first cars that I made famous through Instagram was an R35 GTR Nissan, otherwise known as Godzilla. It's filthy because we do have this notion that our brains have a left side and a right side, and that one side is devoted towards science and facts and nature and following the rules. As a physician, that's sort of my clean side. I have to keep a sterile field when I do procedures. I have to follow the rules, algorithms, that sort of thing. But my creative side, the side that I do, the side that I use when I deal with cars and with creativity and artwork, that's what I consider the other side of my brain, which is the filthy side. So I've got the clean and the filthy. That's why I promote filthy. I'm feeling happy today. I do miss my my filthy hat. I gotta grab my filthy hat real quick. I'll just put this here. Okay, so when folks ask me about what I do, I have usually a few answers. I mean, sometimes they know me as a physician because I wear a bunch of different hats. So in my clinic, I'm a physician. I'm the doctor. It's my #1 job. But I also am known as a customizer of cars. I mean, I used to do a lot of physical work with customizing and actually do my #1 love was audio, car audio, and that involves, I think, every aspect of automotive design and implementation. I mean, I love woodwork, I love metalwork, fiberglass, a lot of different things that I do start from a concept or an idea that sometimes is the most important part of the whole thing, actually. Because if you don't have the proper concept or idea or balance of aesthetic, then it certainly won't work out. So one of the questions I've been asked is to describe my first work when it comes to cars, I should say. And that was I would say about 5 years ago. The first sort of big project was, I call it my crisis car. My crisis car because that's when I'm starting to enter my late 30s and started getting into this crisis where I felt like I needed to buy a fun sports car. And to be honest with you, as a physician, I really didn't buy a lot of fancy cars. I just sort of had nice cars, but they weren't what I would consider to be builds or to be SEMA quality show cars by any means. One of the things what I ended up doing was I ended up thinking about a car for a long time, and it was obvious to me when the R35 GTR was available. That was a car that I dreamt about with the R34s when I was growing up, and certainly wanted that. That was my first build. I told the people around me at the time that I said I wouldn't touch it, I'd keep it stock, because I said the value of it will be maintained. Within the first week, I think I bought a mid-pipe. So it wasn't very long, because those kind of cars, they're meant to be modified. I think the other thing that I really enjoy is that I like to personalize cars, because I think cars are an extension of our personality. And although we may enjoy keeping the value of a car or whatnot for financial purposes, there's still a part of life that says, you know what, screw it. You gotta change it, you gotta make it yours, you gotta make it personal. There's nothing worse than buying a car that was like your dream car, maybe you've been dreaming for a while or saving up for a while. And then you pull up to the road and then some guy has this exact same car as you. You're looking at each other going, what the hell? I think right away of Chip Foose, for instance. So Chip Foose, he's an artist, plain and simple, he's an artist. He did renderings on paper before renderings were a thing. That's groundbreaking stuff. I mean, for him to conceptualize a car and actually sit there with a bunch of Pantone markers and just go for it. I mean, that to me was just so pure, The key with Chip Foose is that he had the wherewithal to take those drawings that he'd imagined and create them and turn them into reality. And that's the one big step, which is a massive step, but it's the one step that gives everyone that great success, because when you turn imagination into something tangible, visible, in front of you, it's incredible. What's your secret identity? Oh my gosh. You know what? I laugh at this one because that's an odd one. I wasn't expecting this question, but it's funny because there's sometimes in my clinical practice, I'll have patients that come up to me and say, Doc, we were just looking up your address for your clinic or whatever, and we noticed you have all these cars. I'm like, oh my God, it's kind of embarrassing. I always ask that, which is your favorite car? Which is your, what's the car do you like the most? To be honest with you, I feel like they're like kids. Like I have 2 boys and I love them equally, I swear to God. I mean, some days I'll love one more a little than the other, depending on how the day's gone. But to be honest with you, if you ask me at the end of the day, do I love one more than the other? Absolutely not. OSK is forcing you to pick one, bro. Okay, so if I was forced to pick one, if I was absolutely forced to pick one, I would say that it is one of my latest builds, which is the Acura NSX Liberty Walk. And I'll probably say that because it just looks so sexy. I mean, the Ferraris for sure, they look amazing for sure, right? But the NSX is the perfect combination of new tech and the hybrid electric sort of engines, the electric motors, the regenerative motors, and all the cool fancy features with my new audio system in there, the air ride, the wheels. I had a hand in designing the wheels. The paint was incredible. Probably one of the nicest paint jobs. And there's a fun story behind that paint job with Fantasy Colors in Seattle. So, I gotta be honest with you. I think that'll probably be the one that I would choose, and just marginally so compared to the other cars. Yeah, so here's a question. It says, what is SEMA? So SEMA, I think the acronym is Specialty Equipment Manufacturers Association. Specialty equipment being aftermarket car parts, and the Manufacturers Association being the collaborative group of companies and folks who make this their industry. It is a conference that lasts typically 4 days. Sometimes there's an earlier day called the Media Day, but it's a 4-day conference in Las Vegas, held annually, usually in the end of October, early November. And it is one of the biggest events actually Las Vegas holds. I think the only thing that would be bigger or equal to it is the CES, the Consumer Electronics Show. And to be honest with you, it is like what I consider to be the sort of a celebration of cars. And the reason why I say that is because I don't think there's any one event in the world that sort of parallels it. SEMA probably did more for me than any one show in the history of all the shows I've done, which is springboard the vehicles that I've built into a global perspective. Now, the internet does that on itself, in and of itself, but SEMA actually helps fuel that. So when you release a car, debut a car at SEMA, the photographers and all the media guys who are running around and trying to cover this massive show, they tend to select different cars that they find are unique and sort of featured cars of the show. When you get your car into that status of being a featured car, or a car that's shared a lot, or is talked about a lot, or creates a buzz, the amount of impressions you get from those photos are incredible. I mean, I think even one photo I did had like 4 million impressions within a certain amount of time. It was just nuts. So another good question is, I like this one a lot. What is considered to be your biggest failure in the car building career? I think failures are important in life. Failures in terms of learning from them. I would say my biggest failure is working with people who get really excited in the beginning and want to build a car with you and do stuff, but then for whatever reason, whether it's financial or emotional or whatever, they just tend to fall off the map, and then you're left with a car that's half built. That's frustrating. I would consider that to be a failure, not investing enough time knowing who I'm building with. So now I'll try to do better with that in the future. that's that stuff like that can happen to anybody. So it says here, what is your longest project and why did it take so long? That's interesting. My longest project probably would be the Acura NSX Liberty Walk that I built. And the reason why is because we had to actually manufacture parts for it. We had to actually work with the companies, take measurements, send out stock parts, scan them and find hang points and attachment points, and actually make parts using things like SolidWorks and design software. Structural engineers were involved. Everyone was involved to sort of make parts. When you actually do builds that require a company to be involved and actually manufacture new parts for the aftermarket industry, your tolerances actually are tenfold stronger. Like, you actually have to make that part with greater precision, and manufacturability changes the whole game when you're actually modifying cars. Anyone can take a car, make a fender, modify it, put it on. That's a one-off. But if you're actually trying to like manufacture it, make a mold, sell it, or take a strut, make a new strut that fits and works for a car, everything has to be considered in advance. So that build took us over a year for sure, because we had to send parts out to Asia, we had to work with guys in Michigan, in the United States for the air ride. We had to do a ton of stuff. So it took long because we were first out of the box. First in the world body kit, first in the world air ride, first in the world exhaust. Like we were doing like good stuff when it came to that for those companies, right? Okay, so what are the stereotypes you get from people? What are true and false? Okay, stereotypes, I don't know what people think about me, to be honest with you. I mean, I've heard some things, oh, like he's really mean, he's like this and that, like, oh, like, but I think that people just get that from online, or like maybe I look mean, but to be honest with you, if you spend any amount of time with me, you'll know that that's not the case. And then, oh, this is a great one. I get this all the time at shows. This is a question. How can you drive your car when it's so low? Okay, so this is part of the thing that I love about our industry, is that there are still a huge amount of people that don't know about air ride and who don't know about air suspension. And air suspension and stance and the whole stance culture, that's a big part of what I do and love, to be honest with you. I fell in love with stance cars because they just look so cool. Bagged or rolling, doesn't matter. But it goes to show that in the car industry, in the automotive industry, we really are still such a very small piece in the whole global sort of picture. So what we do is we have to promote it, whatever stage you're at. If you're a noob or a pro, you've been at this for a while, maybe you own a company that manufactures stuff, you always have to be able to take in all comers at all levels of sort of automotive know-how. Fastest you've ever driven? Oh man, honestly, I'm a slowpoke. Okay, like I'm not a crazy fast driver. I think it's all the years of trauma that I've seen in the ER. It's the truth. I've just seen so many people get like high-level trauma, you know, mortality, all that stuff. I think in the beginning part of my career, I was shaking my head, you know, people who go fast and end up having like these terrible accidents. One of the things that folks ask me about is what are the newest trends? Or what do you see as trends happening these days? You know, one trend that I really enjoy, that I've enjoyed just this past year, actually, maybe 2 years, is seeing folks do builds on classic cars. Now, we've all seen RWB Porsches and the people who love them and the people who have backlash against them, cutting up these old pieces of art, like a Porsche that you add fenders to and whatnot, and then creating a new piece of artwork. Well, we all know how that's worked out. It's amazingly successful and wonderful, and there are purists who will hate everything, but there's always a contingent of people who like that. But a trend that I see now is maybe some older Ferraris. Like Kato Wataru did like the 308, which I thought was rad as hell. Wide body. I mean, I would love to see more 458s, which I consider to be kind of a classic now. They're not making them anymore, obviously, but they're just a car that's still very modern and sexy. Probably the Ferrari body style that I love most out of many Ferraris, maybe most Ferraris. But I love seeing that sort of modified, and I might do that to my Spider, which I still have. And I love seeing those button-built Ferraris, and I love seeing like older Japanese cars like FDs, and like I just love seeing older cars that are being made relevant and sexy and fun with these trends. And like I said, it's not for everyone. You're gonna get people who hate them and whatnot. Those guys just need to take, you know, a sip of beautiful tea and just relax. Teach us 3 types of slang that car builders use. Oh my God, I don't even know. Though those are kind of dirty. I don't know if I could say that. Let me see here. Okay, scratch that. Actually, you know what? I'll take this into this theme. Car builders are dirty. Yeah. So right now, part of this interview, we're gonna have like kind of like a quick fire random question segment, where you know I'm gonna be asked some quick random questions and give quick random answers. Do you have some haters? Do you have anything to say to them? Oh man, for sure you have haters. I don't think you can go anywhere in life or do anything in life without a segment of people who just don't approve of what you do. Now they could be like, you know, couch warriors or keyboard warriors, whatever, who basically haven't left their parents' basement yet, haven't even built a car, maybe not even own a car. If you were to be an animal, what would it be? For sure, grizzly bear, 100%. 100% grizzly bear. I'm furry, I'm big, I weigh a lot. I'm from the Pacific Northwest, so for sure I'm a grizzly bear. The next question here. Oh, this is a good one. If a movie was made out of your life, what genre would it be and who would play you? Oh my God, that's actually pretty funny. Like a Quentin Tarantino movie for sure, because I love his movies. Except the last one was really shitty. And who would play me is Forrest Whitaker because he looks like me. Okay, perfect. Okay, what would you do on Mars for fun? Wow. Okay, first of all, I'd have to make sure that I wasn't like the guy, the Martian, who was growing like, potatoes out of his own poop. But if I would do something fun for Mars, I would be taking the Mars rover and doing some serious jumps or like some serious like driving around for sure. I'd love to see the landscape. I'd love to take that thing out. That would be rad. So I want to take time to thank everyone for listening to this interview. Maybe get to know a little bit more about Filthy, a little bit more about Doczilla. And I'm excited to say OSK Tools, we're going to have a cool collaboration. Please make sure if you come see me at the Tokyo Auto Salon and the OSK booth, you come and say hi. Otherwise, I hope you guys have a wonderful new year. 2020 is going to be huge, and I am so excited. Thank you, OSK Tools. Hope this fits. Oh my God, it actually does. Perfect. See you guys.